Caught my wife cheating and served divorce papers at her hotel where she was meeting up with AP. I've always considered myself a good man, loyal, hardworking, and dedicated to Emma. We've been together for 10 years, and in all that time, I never doubted her. Trust was something I valued, something I never thought I'd question in our marriage. But trust, it seems, can be fragile, shattered by the smallest of things. In our case, it started with a late-night text and the way her smile no longer quite reached her eyes. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Emma had always been busy with work, always on the move. She's driven, ambitious, and her career in marketing has only gotten more demanding over the years. I admired her for it. But then the work trips started happening more frequently, and her phone never seemed to leave her side. That's when the doubts crept in. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who snoops, who checks up on his wife because he doesn't trust her. But late one night, as we were sitting on the couch, her phone buzzed. I watched her smile at the screen, a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. When I asked who it was, she waved it off, said it was just work stuff and locked the phone. But that smile stuck with me. It wasn't long before the work trips became a routine. Every other weekend, she was packing her bags, leaving me with a quick kiss on the cheek before heading out the door. I'd lie awake in bed those nights, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that everything was fine. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. One night, she left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping, at least, I didn't mean to, but when I passed by and saw the hotel booking confirmation, my heart sank. It wasn't for a business trip. It was for a boutique hotel, 2 towns over. A place that looked far too romantic for work. I remember standing there, staring at the screen, my chest tightening. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but something held me back. I needed more than just a gut feeling. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. I hated myself for it. I felt like I was crossing a line, but at the same time, I needed to know the truth. I couldn't keep living in the dark, wondering if I was going crazy or if she was really cheating on me. A week later, the investigator delivered the proof. Photos. Clear, undeniable proof. Emma with another man, meeting him in cafes, holding hands, kissing him in his car. It wasn't a one-time thing. This was an affair. The moment I saw those photos, everything inside me shattered. I sat at my desk, staring at them, unable to move, unable to think. It felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. How long had this been going on? How many times had she lied to my face, pretending everything was fine? That night, as Emma sat across from me at the dinner table, chatting about her day, I could barely focus on her words. I kept picturing her with that man, kept thinking about all the lies she'd told me. She smiled at me, just like she always did, and all I could think was, how could she do this? I didn't sleep that night. I lay there, next to her, wondering how long she had been betraying me, wondering what I had done wrong. I thought about the life we had built together, the trips, the lazy weekends, the plans we had made for the future. Had it all been a lie? By morning, I knew what I had to do. There was no fixing this. Trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt. So I called my lawyer. I need divorce papers, I told him. My voice sounded flat, emotionless, like I wasn't even in my own body. Have them ready by Friday. I didn't tell Emma what I was planning. I waited. That Friday, she packed her suitcase again, ready for another business trip. She kissed me on the cheek, like she always did, and walked out the door without a second glance. I waited until I was sure she was gone, and then I grabbed the divorce papers and drove to the hotel. I had rehearsed what I would say 100 times during that drive. I had played out every possible scenario in my head, from screaming at her to just walking away in silence. But nothing could have prepared me for how I would actually feel in the moment. The hotel was exactly what I expected, small, private, perfect for a secret rendezvous. I walked up to the front desk and asked for Emma's room, my hands shaking but my voice steady. The receptionist smiled, oblivious to the storm raging inside me, and handed me the key. Room 302. I rode the elevator up in silence, my mind racing. When I reached the door, I paused for a moment, my heart pounding in my chest. Then, I knocked. The door opened, and there she was, Emma. She was wearing a white robe, her hair still damp from a shower. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw me standing there. "Jack?" she stammered, her voice trembling. What are you doing here?" Behind her, I saw him. The man from the photos. He stood there, frozen, his shirt half buttoned, his face as pale as a ghost. I barely even registered him. My eyes were locked on Emma. "I think you know why I'm here," I said, my voice cold, detached. I held out the envelope with the divorce papers. She took it from me, her hands shaking. I could see the color drain from her face as she realized what was happening. "Jack. No, please. We can talk about this," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I felt the anger rising in my chest, but I didn't yell. I just looked at her, trying to make sense of the woman standing in front of me. A mistake? A mistake is something you do once. This was a choice. You lied to me. You betrayed me. Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to reach out to me, but I pulled back. I wasn't going to let her touch me, not now. "I love you, Jack," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was lonely. I felt like we were drifting apart. I didn't know how to fix it." Her words felt hollow, like excuses. I had heard this story before, but it didn't make it hurt any less. And cheating on me was the way to fix it? You didn't even try. You just ran to someone else. She sobbed harder, clutching the divorce papers to her chest as if they could somehow hold us together. "Please, don't leave me. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can." "No, Emma." My voice was firm. "We can't. This is over. There's nothing left to fix." She collapsed onto the bed, her sobs echoing in the small room. The man slipped out the door without saying a word. I didn't care about him. I didn't care about anything anymore. I stood there for a moment, watching her cry, and felt nothing. I had imagined this moment so many times, thought I would feel some kind of satisfaction in confronting her, in seeing her realize what she had lost. But all I felt was empty. Without another word, I turned and walked out of the room, closing the door behind me. I didn't look back. As I stepped out into the cool evening air, I felt something strange, relief. The weight that had been pressing down on me for weeks was gone. I didn't have to wonder anymore. I didn't have to wait for the other shoe to drop. It was over. The drive home was quiet. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just drove in silence, my mind strangely calm. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I felt lighter. When I walked into the house, it felt different, emptier, but in a way that I needed. I dropped the keys on the counter and sat down on the couch, staring at the empty space where she had sat just a few days ago. The silence, for the first time in a long time, didn't feel suffocating. It felt like freedom. The next few weeks were hard. Emma tried to reach out, texts, voicemails, even showing up at the house a few times. But I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. We signed the divorce papers, and that was the end of it. I threw myself into work, into rediscovering who I was outside of being Emma's husband. I started running again, reconnected with old friends, even took a solo trip to a national park I'd always wanted to visit. For the first time in years, I was living for myself. There were still hard nights. Nights when the loneliness crept in, when I missed the comfort of having someone beside me. But slowly, the pain faded. The anger softened. And in its place was something new, a sense of peace. One evening, as I sat on the porch of my new apartment, watching the sunset, I realized something. I was okay. I had survived. Life hadn't turned out the way I thought it would, but maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. There was freedom in starting over, in beginning again. As I watched the sun sink below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city, I realized that I wasn't the same person I had been when all of this started. I had been through hell and back, but I was stronger now, more sure of who I was and what I wanted. The pain of Emma's betrayal had shaped me, but it didn't define me. I wasn't the broken man who had stood in that hotel room, watching his marriage fall apart. I was someone new, someone who had learned to let go of the past and move forward. I thought back to the life Emma and I had shared, the plans we had made, the love that once felt so real. There would always be a part of me that remembered those moments fondly, but they were just that, moments. They belonged to a different time, a different version of me. As I sat there, watching the last bit of light fade from the sky, I realized that I had no idea what the future held. But that didn't scare me anymore. For the first time in a long time, I felt excited about the possibilities. I could go anywhere, do anything, be whoever I wanted to be. I took a deep breath, savoring the cool evening air, and smiled to myself. Life had a funny way of knocking you down, but it also gave you the chance to get back up, stronger than before. I didn't know where I was headed, but I knew one thing for certain: I was ready for whatever came next. And as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I stood up, walked inside, and closed the door on the past for good. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed these Reddit stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.